Hello, today we will recap a mystery thriller movie, in which a family is taken hostage by four armed strangers, who demand that the family make an unthinkable choice. Before we start, please subscribe to our channel for free because we'll upload new videos regularly. Spoilers ahead, watch out, and enjoy. In a woods close to their holiday cabin, one captures grasshoppers and puts them in a jar. Out of the blue, a tall guy with tattoos named Leonard comes over and becomes friends with her. While one talks, Leonard looks towards the trees, seeming to expect someone. When the girl notices his odd actions, he suggests playing a game to become better friends. They decide to take turns plucking petals from a flower and asking each other questions. When it's Wen's turn, she questions Leonard about why he came to the cabin, and he responds that he wants to be friends with her family. In return, Leonard asks about the scar above Wen's lip, and she explains that she was born with a broken lip that required many doctors to fix. Later, Leonard spots his three friends arriving. As they approach, one realizes they're carrying weapons, which scares her. One rushes to the back deck to alert Eric and Andrew about the armed strangers. Initially, they are skeptical, but when Leonard knocks on the cabin door, the cautious Eric tries to send them away. Despite this, Leonard insists that they allow the group in so they can have a face-to-face conversation. As they talk through the door, Leonard explains that their group is on a mission to save people. Andrew peers through the window and sees that one of them has a chained pickaxe, leading him to decide to call the police. Unfortunately, when Andrew tries to make the call, he discovers that the phone lines are dead because one of the strangers has cut them. The family tries to close all the windows and block the doorways. Despite their efforts, Redmond breaks a glass window to open the doorknob, while the others manage to break in through the basement. In a moment of desperation, Eric suggests that they all run to the car. However, before they can open the door, a tense Sabrina appears and knocks Eric down. While they attempt to wake Eric, Redmond manages to enter the cabin and engages in a fight with Andrew. After Andrew successfully subdues Redmond, he's surprised to find Leonard holding one, accompanied by Adrian. Once Sabrina tends to Eric's head injury, he regains consciousness and discovers that both he and Andrew are tied to chairs, while one is seated on the floor. The strangers then take turns introducing themselves. Sabrina reveals that she is an experienced post-op nurse from Southern California, having spent all her savings to travel to Pennsylvania to speak with them. Following that, Leonard discloses that he is a second-grade school teacher from Chicago who also runs an after-school program. Redmond shares that he is a single man working at a gas station in Massachusetts. Despite having made some mistakes in the past and serving time in prison, he emphasizes that he has since improved. Eric points out that if they intend to recruit them into their group, there's a more civilized way to approach it than tying them up. He then asks for someone to close the curtains, with Sabrina explaining that his concussion makes him sensitive to light. As Redmond agrees to fix the curtains, Adrian abruptly introduces herself as a passionate line cook at a Mexican restaurant who loves feeding people and has two cats. Following this, Leonard reveals their mission to prevent the apocalypse, emphasizing that the fate of humanity rests in the hands of the family. Leonard reveals that to save the world, the family must be willing to sacrifice one of its members. If they refuse, the three of them will survive, but the rest of humanity will perish. The friends dismiss Leonard's extravagant story, labeling him as a lunatic. Leonard argues that the four of them had visions of the apocalypse, which brought them together and led them to the cabin. He elaborates, describing a scenario involving a violent tsunami, a plague, the sky falling like glass, and eternal darkness. Andrew rejects Leonard's statement, insisting that they are all delusional. In contrast, Eric calmly inquires about how their family fits into the apocalyptic vision. Leonard explains that each time they refuse to make the decision, a plague will be unleashed. Unfazed, the family shakes their heads, leading Adrian to place one on Andrew's lap, shielding the child from a potentially gruesome sight. The trembling Redmond then kneels and covers his head with a white cloth bag. Eric notices a strange light on the mirror by the door. Suddenly, the group kills Redmond. In the midst of this, Eric recalls the moment he and Andrew adopted one when she was just a baby with a cleft lip. After Redmond's demise, the group takes care of the aftermath. Leonard then changes the channel to a news report about a series of earthquakes and tsunamis in the Pacific Northwest. Leonard claims that the first plague has occurred due to Redmond's execution. Adrian and Sabrina, as they watch the footage of the tsunami, remark that it's exactly like what they saw in their visions. Once Leonard turns off the TV, he informs the captives that they will have to make a decision first thing the next day. Upon waking, Eric finds himself in front of the bathroom mirror, being tended to by Sabrina. She admits that she too initially didn't believe in the visions but became convinced, hoping that Eric would eventually feel the same. Later, in the living room, Andrew shares his suspicion with Eric that Leonard is orchestrating the tragic events to make their visions appear real. Meanwhile, one tries to escape the cabin through the basement, but Leonard catches her and brings her back. While Leonard comforts the frightened one, Andrew asserts that their family has been specifically targeted. He has a sudden recollection of a night years ago when he was attacked in a bar, claiming that the assailant was Redmond. When Leonard defends their comrade, Andrew stands firm and instructs them to retrieve Redmond's wallet for verification of his true identity. He argues that the man who attacked him years ago showing up and tying them up isn't a coincidence, suggesting that they are victims of an elaborate setup. Despite Andrew's request, Leonard refuses to comply, insisting that Redmond's name is irrelevant as long as he experienced the same visions. Adrian expresses concern about their mission, recalling that it was Redmond who informed them about the cabin on their message board, coinciding with the start of their visions. Leonard corrects her, stating that they had the visions before Redmond informed them about the cabin. Suspicious that the group might be running a scam, Andrew, who is also a human rights lawyer, issues a threat. In response, Leonard reveals a photo of his students, suggesting that they are the inspiration behind his mission to save them from the apocalypse. As the day progresses, Leonard rearranges the friends' seating, positioning them to face each other, encouraging them to reflect on their decision for the upcoming day before the sun sets. The next morning, while one enjoys the delicious food prepared by Adrian, Andrew confides in Eric about his plan to reach the trunk of the car and retrieve the gun once he frees himself from the ropes. Subsequently, Andrew confronts the group about how participating in an online community can lead to a shared delusion that could ruin their lives. Leonard defends the notion that they found each other because of the shared visions and the decision to meet at the boardwalk. As Andrew distracts Leonard's team, one discreetly hands Eric a knife. The group then gathers in front of the family, prepared to hear their decision. Adrian steps forward, admitting that she will be the next to go if they refuse to choose a sacrifice. Eric tries to reassure them that nothing will happen, but Adrian insists that everything will only stop if a choice is made. She discloses that she has a son named Charlie, whom she has seen perish many times in her visions of the apocalypse. Adrian then kneels and covers her head with a white cloth, sacrificing herself for the cause. Following Adrian's passing, Leonard announces the arrival of the second plague. He instructs Sabrina to turn on the TV, where they witness a deadly flu outbreak. Shortly after, Eric admits that he saw a figure, a reflection in the mirror behind Redmond just before he was executed. Andrew then contends that the TV shows are pre-programmed, and Leonard and Sabrina only play the broadcasts when the time on their watches align, which is why they keep checking them. Unexpectedly, one shouts, insisting on watching her favorite cartoon. While Leonard is distracted, Eric finishes cutting the ropes and seizes the weapon on the floor to confront the tall man. As Eric threatens Leonard, Andrew manages to break free and attempts to reach the car. While Sabrina attempts to break the car window, Andrew goes to the trunk and opens a box containing an unloaded pistol. After loading the gun, Andrew shoots and threatens Sabrina, who eventually runs away to escape. Back in the cabin, Eric maintains his aim with the weapon at Leonard, who tries to calm him down. Andrew returns to the cabin, pointing his weapon at Leonard, who informs them that it's time for the next sacrifice and once again requests their decision. Suddenly, Sabrina returns, but Andrew shoots, severely injuring her. Despite the violence, Leonard asks the friends for their decision, but they remain steadfast in their refusal to sacrifice a family member. This leads Leonard to strike Sabrina, ending her life. While covering her lifeless body, Andrew goes to Redmond's body to get his ID from the wallet. Returning to the cabin, he throws Redmond's ID on the floor, revealing that he is O'Bannon, the man who attacked Andrew at the bar. Afterward, Andrew threatens Leonard, telling him to go to the bathroom so they can lock him in. Once the door is closed, they hear the sound of breaking glass, suggesting that Leonard might have escaped through the window. To confirm, Andrew removes the rope from the door and checks the shattered bathroom window. However, the tall man suddenly attacks Andrew, grabbing his gun. With Leonard pointing the gun, he instructs them to turn on the TV, and they witness multiple airline failures leading to over 700 plane crashes worldwide. Eric recalls the third plague, the sky falling and crashing to the earth like pieces of glass. Leonard asks everyone to move to the back deck. Before he takes his own life, Eric orders one to go to the treehouse and listen to music, shielding her from witnessing another tragic event. As Leonard sits in a rocking chair, he makes a final attempt to convince the friends to make the decision to save humanity. However, when they persist in refusing, Leonard takes his own life. Moments later, a storm rapidly forms in the sky. As the friends return to the cabin, Eric revisits the figure he saw in the light, asserting that the arrival of the four strangers symbolizes different aspects of humanity. Eric deduces that the four strangers were the four horsemen of the apocalypse. When Andrew inquires about why they were chosen, Eric believes it's because they possess the capability to make decisions, just as they did when they decided to adopt one. Aware that time is running out, Eric ultimately makes a decision. He hands Andrew the pistol and asks him to shoot him, aiming to save everyone, especially one. Despite Andrew's insistence that he should be the sacrifice, Eric paints a hopeful future for them. In this vision, one has a fulfilling career and love life, and Andrew is there to witness it all. Andrew finally pulls the trigger to prevent the impending apocalypse. After mourning the loss of Eric, a tearful Andrew rushes to the treehouse to tightly hug his worried daughter. Meanwhile, lightning strikes, igniting the cabin and engulfing it in flames. Andrew and one observe the burning cabin before leaving the forest. They walk among the trees until they reach the group's vehicle. During their drive, Andrew stops at a nearby diner, where they join others in watching the news. The updates reveal that the ocean stopped rising, the remaining planes landed safely, and no flu-related deaths have been recorded in the past 2 hours. This confirmation suggests that Eric's sacrifice successfully saved humanity.